Hi John, my name's Cassidy, and I'm giving you a call in regard to the latest performance appraisal that you had conducted on your 5 members of your public relations management team. I know that there's been some issues and that you've gotten some negative feedback from those individuals about those ratings, and I just wanted to touch base, possibly give my insight and a few pointers on how to alleviate this issue now and also in future performance appraisals. So from my understanding, you are getting feedback from the individuals saying that they believe that their scores are lower than what they actually deserve. I know, or I believe that it was your intent to give them these lower scores to motivate them to perform at a higher standard. I know that you've also said that all 5 of these management employees do a great job and that they're all high performers and that you're just wanting to give them some developmental pointers in order to have their performance be even better, which of course is every manager or supervisor's goal for their employees. However, this may not be the best approach in regard to performance appraisal ratings. It might be believed that by giving them the lower scores, it will motivate them to perform at a higher level. However, it's actually quite the opposite. By giving these individuals these lower ratings and not highlighting the strengths and highlighting the weaknesses, you're actually risking decreasing their motivation, which of course in turn would create lower productivity within your department, which I know is not what you want. So my advice to you in that regard would be to, in these situations for these appraisals, focus on the positives and the strengths that they have, and they will appreciate hearing what you recognize that they're doing well, and they will feel like they want to perform at that high level and that high standard for you in the future. I also just wanted to go a little bit into detail about something called the death spiral of performance appraisals. Basically what this is you have a performance appraisal that is coming up, and the ratee comes into that evaluation with preconceived notions on performance appraisals, whether that be from just their initial thought process of how the appraisals worked or also how appraisals have been conducted in the past. And in this situation, I know that they have been given higher ratings in the past. So your employees are coming into this thinking that they're going to score higher on this appraisal that you're giving them. However, then the evaluation or the appraisal happens, and based off of the feedback or the ratings that they get from that evaluation, it can lead them in 2 different directions. So if they take your feedback in a positive manner, that can, of course, like I mentioned, increase that motivation and more positive feeling toward the company. However, on the opposite side, if they perceive it as something negative, they can become disengaged, again, lowering that level of performance, which is not something that you want. And then from there, based on their new feelings of the appraisal system, they can then create a new idea of what these appraisals mean to them in regard to their position and also the company. And if they don't believe in these appraisal systems, it could cause them to not only, like I said, decrease motivation, but also lose faith that the company and also their supervisor support them and gives them a sense that the appraisals are not accurate and also maybe not that useful. I also wanted to maybe give another pointer for you, and this might alleviate the issue with giving these people of course, the negative feedback that you have to give them. If somebody isn't performing to a high level, you have to let them know that. You can't inflate your scores, to these higher scores just to get them to perform better if they're not accurate. The entire reason behind performance appraisals is to make sure that you're giving a true and sound evaluation of these employees. So something that you can consider is giving more feedback throughout the year on more of a developmental standpoint. Any kind of weaknesses that you see, I would recommend maybe scheduling every month, every couple months, having maybe a less formal evaluation, but have it be maybe more open-ended. So then that way you can freely talk about some developmental needs that each of these employees have. And then that way they might feel more open to discussing their shortcomings with you, because with the formal appraisal, of course, you're going to have your merit increases and your promotions based off of those scores. So they're going to be less likely to want to agree with the negative feedback that you're saying. However, if you do it in a more informal setting throughout the year, not only are they going to be more open to talking about those shortcomings, but it also gives them time to raise that level of performance and develop those weaker skills. So then by the time that main performance appraisal comes, you can see the progress that they've made throughout the year. And then they would be more likely to understand why they're getting the ratings that they're getting at the end of the year. Lastly, I just want to point out that the scores that you gave these individuals did tend to be a little bit lower than the other raters. That gave them the same evaluation based on their performance. And you consistently scored below the cluster of everybody else's. So I would also recommend to you just to make sure that you're on the same page with what those performance standards look like within your department, also within your company. If there is too much of a variance between your scores and everybody else's scores, it could lead them to think that these appraisals are inaccurate. So maybe just ask your company if they have any sort of training. Frame of reference training is great. It basically encompasses organizational goals, department goals, and make sure that the raters are on the same page as the company. I hope that these pointers might help alleviate the issue that you're going through, and please let me know if you have any questions or need any other advice. Thanks.